Good day, everyone. I'm Arvin Eusebio, and with me is Ms. Roma Generalao. We will be discussing consumer behavior, what consumer behavior is, the factors that affect consumer behavior, and the buying process.
Thank you, Arvin, for your wonderful introduction. So, first, let me discuss to you what is consumer behavior. Consumer behavior is the overall buying behavior of final consumers. These final consumers are individuals, groups, or organizations of people that buy goods and services. The consumer decision process is also called the buyer decision process. Help markets identify how consumers complete the journey knowing a product to making a purchase decision. Understanding a buyer process is essential for marketing and sales. This is the model of consumer behavior. The environment, buyer's black box, and buyer responses. The environment consists of marketing stimuli and other. The marketing stimuli consists of the four P's: product, price, place, and promotions. And the other is economic, technological, social, and cultural. Passes through buyer's black box, the buyer's characteristic, buyer's decision process, where decisions on the buying responses are formed, buying attitudes and preferences, purchase behavior of what, when, where, and how much of the product, and then the brand engagements and relationships.
There are four major characteristics that affect consumer behavior. These are namely cultural, social, personal, and psychological. If you see the picture on the screen, we will realize that if we follow the arrows, our cultural factors affect our social factors. These in turn affect also our personal factors and psychological factors. All of these work hand in hand for us to build our consumer buying behavior. These are our attitudes and beliefs towards a purchase that we will be doing. Let us first dive into the cultural factors. Culture is a set of basic values, perceptions, wants, and behaviors that is acquired by an individual from his or her family or the society at large. We know or we realize that these are learned attributes that we gain from the environment that we are in. However, even if we know that we are affected by culture at large, we should also realize that culture changes. These are called culture shifts. One major culture shift that is happening right now is the pandemic. From our lives before, which are very interpersonal, very social, we are now confined inside the four corners of our homes. And it is very interesting to know how we will be reacting once this pandemic is over. Once this lockdowns, once the clamor for vaccines, once all the government changes policies are already lifted, it is also very interesting for marketers because maybe once this pandemic is over, they can introduce new ideas, new products, and new innovations to the market at large. Next is subculture. Subculture is a group of people with shared values based on common life experiences and situations. These are nationalities, religions, race, or geographical regions that houses several groups of people that in turn share same values and beliefs. Here in the Philippines, we have several different micro subgroups that are based on our regions. Like say for example, the Visayas, the Ilocanos, and the Kapampangans. Now under Bisaya, there are a lot of micro groups like Ilonggos and Warais. And these different subgroups or subcultures have same values and beliefs that they share. Like say for example, the Ilonggos are mostly seen as very malambing and understanding. The Warais are seen as very feisty, same as the mga Caviteños. The Ilocanos are seen as kuripot, and the Kapampangans are seen as very masarap magluto. In America, there are three major subcultures as well. First are the Hispanic Americans, the African Americans second, and third are the Asian Americans. And these subcultures are differentiated in terms of their buying patterns. However, since marketers realize that it is very hard for them to target these subcultures per se, they employ a total marketing strategy, which is an integration of ethnic themes, cross cultural perspectives within a brand's mainstream marketing strategies. Here in the Philippines, this was used by PLDT in their Suportahan Taka TVC. In that particular TV ad, they used the dialect of the Ilonggo for the main character to talk to his dad, wherein he was asking for the dad for permission in transferring courses from medicine to fine arts. Because of this, they used the ethnic dialect of that particular region to invoke a communication, direct communication from the son to the father that aims to bridge their particular gap. Next is the social class. This is an orderly stratification or division in the society. However, social classes are not only differentiated by income. In other cultures, these are delineated by occupation, education, family history, wealth, and other variables. We can see that in the feudal system in Europe, wherein stratification was done by means of land ownership. There are landlords, tenants, and workers. Also, in the Indian culture, there is a caste system that differentiates people from the Brahmins or the god kind, the rulers or the warriors, the merchants, and the slaves. Generally, what we use in marketing is three different social classes: the upper class, the middle class, and the lower class. The upper class, their buying behavior is that they buy items to expose and maintain their status. The middle class goes by bang for their buck. They want to get the most out of the money that they will be using to buy a particular product. However, for the lower class, they do not really mind so much as to what products they will be spending their money to because they are already limited in their financial capacity. Okay, so now let's go to the social factors. We have three. These are groups and social networks, family, and then roles and status. First is groups and social networks. These are two or more people who interact together, share, and accomplish a common goal. Apparently, there are three kinds of groups that are based on the level of influence they have on a person. First is the membership group. This is the group where one belongs to, meaning there is direct influence to the person. Next is the reference group. That is the group where a person's attitudes and behaviors are attributed to. Apparently, in this group, one can be exposed to new behavior and lifestyle, be influenced to changing attitudes and self-conflict concept, and be pressured to conform. The third one is the aspirational group, which is the group that a person wishes to belong to. Group influence is strongest from individual members that the group trusts and respects. This is where word of mouth influence becomes very prevalent. Apparently, we tend to be affected directly by personal recommendations from our trusted sources, and these becomes our opinion leaders. In recent years, these opinion leaders have transformed the digital arena and then started calling themselves as influencers. Those are very rampant in our social networking sites right now. They are being employed by brands as brand ambassadors and infiltrate our feeds to promote and sell these particular products. The next one is family. Apparently, there are two major influences that a family has towards a person. First is the family influences individuals' personality, characteristics, attitudes, and evaluation criteria. And the second one is that the family influences the decision making process involved in purchasing goods and services. Here in the Philippines, we are very in tune with our family. We're very tight knit with our family. Family is the most important consumer buying organization in society. This small unit has the most intact influence that directly affects each members. There are actually several campaigns from a lot of brands that focuses in the family. Like say for example, the Jollibee campaigns that targeted kids so that they can influence or like bring their moms and dads to Jollibee per se. There is also the Makulay ang Buhay campaign by Nor that targeted these kids so that they uh, uh, they influence their parents to buy this particular product. Another one is the Batang May Laban campaign that now uh, that focuses on children affecting the moms. That when they say the bata has may laban or the bata is fighting, then they can buy this particular milk brand for their child to be a fighter. Next is rules and status. This affects the consumer buying behavior. Um, because this spells out who we are in the society that we move around in. Apparently, rules are parts expected of us that we perform in our social circles. And how we accomplish performing these particular roles determine our status among our peers. We buy things that aid us in accomplishing our roles that in turn stamps our status. Sometimes, if we want to change our status in society, we purchase products that alter our peers' view that our role is more important. Okay, so now we go to the personal factors that affect consumer behavior. There are five personal factors that affect consumer behavior. First is occupation. This is work environment and work conditions that affect buying behavior. Of course, if one person is uh, sitting in his office for 8 hours, 5 times a week, that will certainly affect him and his purchasing powers. If one person, like say for example, is employed in the construction site, he or she will not buy heels, right? Or he or she will not buy like jackets that are leather because that will not fit in that particular work environment. Second is age and life stage. Life stage changes and maturity affects people's wants and needs. As people grow, their preferences changes. And also when these life stages happen, like say for example, they get married, they get divorced, they have kids, they buy a new home, certain patterns in their needs and wants and their beliefs and attitudes towards different products change as well. Number three is economic situation. These are economic factors that dictate spending capacity and fluctuation in uh, product prices. Apparently, from Ramya and Muhammad Ali in 2016, there are several economic factors that affect consumer behavior. These are namely personal income, family income, income expenses, savings, liquid assets of the consumer, consumer credit, and other economic factors, which are like inflation, business cycles, etc. Fourth is lifestyle. These are patterns of living expressed by a person's activities, interests, and opinions. Say, for example, one is a healthy lifestyle or living a healthy lifestyle. Of course, this person will not buy food that are junk, right? He will buy food that are um, healthy in terms of like it's vitamin enriched, it's high fiber, it's low fat, and stuff like that. Also, like say for example, if one is having a healthy or like active lifestyle, he or she will be buying or like purchasing experiences and products that boost his or her adrenaline and encourages movement. Um, Apparently, people don't just buy products, they buy the values and the lifestyle that the brand represents. Next is personality and self concept. Personality is a set of unique psychological characteristics that distinguish a person or a group. These are traits that are defined, that define an individual. One can say that personality makes up a person's identity. But how does this really affect our purchase behavior. Apparently, brands also have personality, and five of these are enumerated on the screen. Number one is sincerity, meaning the brand is down to earth, honest, wholesome, and cheerful. Next is excitement, meaning the brand is daring, spirited, imaginative, and up to date. Next is competence. The brand is reliable. He's seen as intelligent and successful. Next is sophistication. It is seen as glamorous, upper class, and charming. Most of these, particularly, are luxury brands like Prada, Gucci, and stuff like that. Fifth is ruggedness. These are the outdoorsy and tough brands that are mostly used for trekking. These are mostly used for like hiking and very active activities. These brand personalities fulfill our self image, just like personalities build someone's identity. We purchase products that contribute and reinforce our identities. Kapag bumili tayo ng luxury goods, that would also mean that somehow we are glamorous, we are upper class, and we are luxurious that way. This proves that we are what we consume. Now let's go to the psychological factors that affect consumer behavior. Number one is motivation. This is a need that is sufficiently pressing to direct a person to seek satisfaction of that need. This is something that causes one to act. Now, there are two schools of thoughts under this particular factor. First is Sigmund Freud's, wherein he believes that people do not know the real psychological factors that shape their buying behavior. They are clueless as to how or why they are buying certain things. This is why marketers also do market research or motivational research for their particular market for them to understand their market. A second school of thought is Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which says that people's needs are arranged in hierarchy, meaning if one particular level of need, of course we know the hierarchy of needs, right? Psychological, no, physiological, security, esteem, self-actualization. Now, if those are, like, say, for example, one particular level is met, that becomes, or that is not going to become a motivator anymore. That means if that is not a motivator anymore, the next need will be the motivator, right? Next psychological factor is perception. Now, perception is the process by which the people select, organize, and interpret information to form a meaningful picture of the world. Apparently, our perceptions are varied by three considerations. First is selective attention, meaning the tendency of people to screen out most of the information to which they are exposed. Second is selective distortion, meaning the tendency of people to interpret information in a way that will support what they already believe. And third is selective retention, the tendency of people to remember the good points made about the product that they like and forget the good things made out of competing brands. Okay, I mean, here I can only example, for example, like a woman who has several suitors, right? Isang babae na maraming mandiligaw. Selective attention comes in wherein if hindi talaga siya interesado sa pagpapaligaw or sa pagkakaroon ng relasyon, she will most likely be screening out all those manliligaws or the attention that she is receiving, right? Next is selective distortion based on what you already believe. If you believe, let's say, for example, the kind of man that will measure up is someone that is like your dad, tall, dark, and handsome, respectful, down to earth. Those traits. If one particular suitor has those particular traits, then maybe your liking will be towards that person. Selective retention. If you find someone who has that or those traits like your dad's, then you will not be making efforts to talk to and date other men because you're already focused towards this particular person, right? Next is learnings. These are developments or changes in an individual's view, attitudes, and behavior arising from experience. Now, apparently, they are our learnings are derived through an interplay of drives, stimuli, cues, responses, and reinforcements. Drive is a strong internal stimulus that causes action. For example, the drive is hunger, right? It is a very strong internal stimulus that might cause action. Second, stimulus object, something that a person's drive is directed at. So that will be food, obviously. Cues are minor stimuli that determines when, where, and how the person responds to the motive. Cues maybe are like direction towards restaurants, menus of the restaurants, advertisements of different food choices, right? That will affect a person's psyche as to when, where, and how he wants that particular drive, which is hunger, to be filled. Fourth is responses, which is the response or reaction to stimuli, meaning this is the decision making process to buy or not to buy that particular food. Then we go to reinforcement, which is feedback towards the response done. Here, may that feedback be positive or negative. One realizes the learnings that he has towards this particular response that he has made, right? Next is beliefs and attitudes. This is the last one. Belief is the general idea that a person holds about something. Now, these beliefs are based on real knowledge, opinions, or religion. And if the belief is wrong, you have to correct it. However, attitudes are a person's relatively consistent evaluation, feeling, or tendencies towards a particular object or idea. These are based on repetitive experience patterns, and most marketers work around existing attitudes already and do not want to change it. They know that um, repetitive, consistent experience that built a particular attitude is very hard to change. And they just would want to work around it for one campaign to be successful.
These are the 5 stages in buying decision process, composed of problem recognition, information search, evaluation of alternatives, purchase decision, and post-purchase. Buying starts when the consumer identifies a need of a problem or when a need arises. It can be activated in internal or external stimuli. The first step of buying decision process is the need recognition stage. Here, the consumer recognizes a need or problem and feels a difference between actual state and some desired state. Internal stimuli such as hunger or thirst, or external stimuli may have sparked the urge such as advertising or word of mouth. For my example, my old running shoes worn out. I used my old running shoes for about 4 years. So, I need to buy a new running shoes that I can use for triathlon. That leads to information search. The customer begins looking for information that will assist them better understanding their position and determining what will resolve their problems. Information is not only gathered about stuff, on things, but from people via recommendations and through previous experience we may had. For example, in my case, I googled trainer reviews and what is the best trainer for trail running for the triathlete. Among other searches as well, remembering that I didn't like Puma or Word Balance and I have a nasty experience in Fila last year. So, from this, you can go to Lazada, Shopee, or Zalora for more information of the product. Or, the best thing is you can watch in a YouTube which is you can search about the best trainer in trail running, most likely the shoes that use for triathlon. And then the third stage is evaluation of alternatives. This is when they start weighing their options to see which one is the greatest fit for their conditions. Customers have a lot to think about this point in buying process. They must figure out which solution is the most reliable, cost effective, high quality, and high performing. In my case, I start questioning the price and then the quality of the product of A6. Or I start questioning myself if I want to buy the original A6 or the Baclaran or Divisoria trail running shoes. For the fourth stage is purchase decision. You must make it straightforward to buy for a company to assist clients through this time. They decided which product, service, brand, or solution is ideal for them and ready to purchase it. According to Philip Kotler, the final purchase decision may be disrupted by two factors. One, negative feedback from other customers, and two, the level of motivation to accept the feedback. For example, I purchased A6 runners that I have wonderful experience them previously. They were well priced on the market, and the marketing around A6 trainers has always linked them to being best options for real athletic trainers. And for the last stage is post-purchase. Buyers will compare products to their past expectations and will be satisfied or dissatisfied with the result. These stages are crucial for customer retention. This can have a significant impact on a future decision making for similar purchases from the same company. For example, to finish my customer journey in A6, I am very much like the trainers I have chosen. First, the color of it, and then the quality of the product, and I will recommend them to my friend in triathlon. And good knows, after 2 to 4 years, I will purchase again the same brand of the shoes. So that's it, and thank you for listening for our reporting.
So that's it for our report today. We hope that you learned a thing or two about consumer behavior, and thank you very much for listening.